Greetings and salutations. Today I want to talk to you about a new kind of job description, which I do think will become quite common in the future. So I want to tell you about it from a coding perspective, being a software engineer. And the thing we're going to talk about today is called AI mediator. So, what is an AI mediator exactly? Of course, I do not have to tell you that AI is becoming more commonplace in every kind of field you can imagine, being it writing a text, be it writing code, and being it even to help you with your creativity output. But still, certain things in a cognitive high level are still kept for us humans, thank God. Even if we talk about, for example, peak creativity, this is only what the humans can make happen. Although AI can help with that. And if AI can help with such things, it needs to be guided. It needs to be pointed to the things it has to figure out to help us, meaning it needs to be mediated. And this is why I like to coin the term AI mediator, because this is exactly what we humans being will be doing in the future. And it will funnel through all kinds of job fields. And today, I want to show it in a more detailed fashion from a software engineer position. Meaning, I will go from old school software engineer to AI mediator software engineer and show you what I've experienced and how this might look like. So, is there actually a clear output gain, productivity gain when we talk about software engineering with LLMs? Well, kinda. You see, there have been a study which actually said there was more or less a decrease with senior productivity, although other studies have said it is clearly faster. Me and my colleague, we have been now working on a year on a product, agentic product, and we have been using AI to the max, which is also the whole principle of our company, out maxing AI, because we for us realized there's no coming back from this. So let me show you a couple of principles I realized myself what that means for us. So what is the most obvious thing where I would always use a LLM for coding? It's to input code and not having to write myself in a very small fashion. Meaning, if I just have one file, I want to make something very clear, very easy, and I just want to save time looking up definitions. If I already know exactly how it would function, how I expect it to look like. If we take a very simple example like initiate a logger and log the most important operations, for example, right? By the way, this is Cursor, but I do not endorse Cursor. I just happen to use it. I'm sure there are actually cheaper ways to use top grade models nowadays, and hopefully it will get cheaper in the future. But just to show us like a showcase how it works, because I think it's a nice IDE. So basically, you would initiate a logger, right? Yeah, Python logger basic config, just as we know it. I might add some changes, but just the speed of it putting it there. Maybe I don't really like the position of where it's being logged, that's fine. But just to have it initially and just to have it written very fast, I could have not made it faster myself. Even if I go through it and delete the parts I don't want, it will still be faster than me writing the syntax myself. So this very precisionally knowing positioning of text without having to write it yourself by the LLM is a benefit you cannot remove anymore. It's just too good to be true and definitely saves you time. You just kind of need a little bit of training and knowledge when to use it and when not. The second thing which I find is very advantageous to have, although please take care of security, please, for God's sake. You have been hearing stories about open crawl and stuff like that. If that is accounted for, though, right, nothing critical can be accessed or shared by accident. One other very potent thing to make you more productive, I think, is the connection to multiple services using MCP. And if you use MCP, you can connect to GitHub issues, you can connect to all kinds of devices, And in this case, I want to show you Grafana, right? So I have a Grafana setup right now running in a Docker container using, I think it's the official Grafana agent, MCP agent, and I can activate it in my IDE. Basically, your agent can, in a live environment, then ask or look at logs and figure out what to do. And it's so convenient if I just, for example, say, what logs are available, right? I mean, I could log in, of course, look at the Grafana and visualize it, which has its advantages, and you should do that for more in-depth research about issues or problems. But if I just let the agent run the background and tell them, hey, you know what, look at the logs, and there was an error. Can you point this error to the source of the error just based on the logs you see, right? For example, we have now our nice logs from an application, and I could also further ask any errors, and so on and so forth. Very mighty, and very powerful. The connection, maybe in the future, also decentralized connection of multiple services and systems with your agentic workflow, which could be helpful, which not only could be helpful, which definitely will be helpful. I am missing provision directories, or they found some errors. Very nice. So the final thing which I sometimes try to do is to go to Gemini, talk back and forth about architecture, IT architecture, and then put that into my coding IDE, right? Sometimes you can also visualize it if you want to. And my big hope for the future is that our what was back in the day, I code everything by hand, moves completely to I just think in a high level. So meaning, if coding agents become so good that we can just focus on such workflows, basically everybody, which already happens by the way right now, will become a coder. But the people who are still deep into tech and understand the ins and outs of what happens in the background, because you still need that understanding, right? Technology always advances, but people also just get more productive, more smarter. They try to think in a more high level. Techies won't go away. Other certain workers also won't go away. They will just cherish the productivity gains to focus on more essential things. If I can make a data stream pipeline where I just focus on how things are changing, right? For let's say I take Apache Flink or Apache Kafka or whatever. I have some kind of data stream, some kind of data changes on the way. If I can just focus on the data model and then let the agent do everything else, my God, that is amazing. And that is what I think our future will be. That seems to be the logical conclusion where those things will lead up to. And quite honestly, we're just like at the beginning. And I can recommend to just adapt using AI agents as much as possible. It shouldn't mean you don't know how to code. You should still definitely understand the basics. Because if you don't understand the basics, you cannot use it, right? But with understanding the basics and when knowing when to use AI agents, you will become very powerful, very potent, and it seems to be the only way to still be compatible in the job market nowadays, even if it looks like a war zone nowadays. So yeah, best of luck. Adapt as soon as you can, and thank you for your attention.